Now, there are quite a few conspiracies in this crazy world that we live in. And as it pertains to the world of rock and roll, there's quite a few as well, just in that world. But I really want to talk about one today, because this individual had a huge impact on this world while they were alive. And their death was absolutely just as massive. That's the death of Kurt Cobain. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back, music lovers especially. My rock music lovers, that's right. Thank you. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so right now. Absolutely hit that button. That will help me and this channel grow. You know the drill. YouTube puts me out there to a more vast audience, and that will absolutely help this channel grow. And that's what I want. That's why I'm here. That's why I enjoy doing this every single day. And there's nothing else I'd rather be doing than this right here. So conspiracies are one thing this world will never be rid of. And honestly, a real juicy conspiracy is interesting, whether it's factual or it's just something completely, made up in somebody's mind that's spread. You never really know, because one thing I've learned in this world and the things that I've seen is don't let nobody's position of power or what they do for a living blind you into thinking that they're not capable of anything. As humans, we are capable of so many things, good and bad. Now, when it came to the death of Kurt Cobain in 1994, there was a lot of conspiracy around that. And I want to dive into some of the things that were brought up that are still brought up today. And, well, do we believe it is exactly what was told to us? Or is there a lot more to the story than meets the eye? Now, when it comes to conspiracies in our government, they go way back. They're good buddies. Now, a couple that come to mind that were absolutely huge when it comes to the conspiracy world was obviously the JFK assassination. Lee Harvey Oswald was said to have not killed him at all, and he said so himself. And people believe right then and there that there was more going on. And there's a lot that happened in that case with individuals involved that will make you kind of think twice about what happened. Again, I'm not diving into that because I'm just stating obvious facts that are out there. I would never dive too deep into a conspiracy unless it pertained to my life, because sometimes digging too deep, you're not climbing back out of that hole. There was also conspiracies that Lee Harvey Oswald did shoot him, but there was 2 other gunmen involved. The moon landing, a huge one, still talked about today. Did we or did we not land on the moon? As far as we know, we did. And we'll just leave it at that. But there's a lot of conspiracies that say otherwise. Another one, September 11th attacks on the United States, the World Trade Centers. A lot of people say the Bush administration was behind that attack. And a lot of people firmly believe that. And there's a lot of strong videos out there in cases to make you believe that that was in fact the reality. Again, you don't want to dive into something with the government. But there was conspiracies out there as well that the government took part in the death of Kurt Cobain. Now, not too many details have emerged about that, but that was a conspiracy that they just wanted to silence him based on his public image, the things that he said, and what he portrayed as a person. Now, if you're one of those people that believe stuff like that, then it's obviously completely possible. Do I believe that? I don't know. But there's a lot of people that will make you believe the government was behind the death of Kurt Cobain. Another conspiracy with Cobain's death was the fact that it was just a complete accident, which I find this one 100% plausible, because we know Kurt Cobain was a heroin addict. Don't know about you, but if you've ever been around people that are in that world and addicted to that very, very strong drug, then it's not too far-fetched to believe that, yes, it was an accident. He did too much, overdosed, and died. But the fact that his initial death today is said that he died from suicide with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, if you're telling me he overdosed and it was an accident, fine. But the fact that he was shot, and this very large rifle that he used, shotgun, to kill himself, knowing that a heroin addict is pretty much losing most loss of control of himself initially after intaking that drug. If you're telling me it was an accident and he did too much, the fact that he was even able to pull the trigger of a gun, much less that large of a gun, that's when I start asking questions. So, could it have been an accident? Yes. But there's too many other things involved there that make me really question that theory altogether. Even though that's one that seems the most likely. But based on facts, it's also the most unlikely, in my opinion. There's also a theory I read a while back about Cobain's death being caused by the fact that he was under mind control. Now, again, I'm not going to dive too much into this one. It's the one that really seems far-fetched, but I am one to believe, and we've seen too many things happen in this world where people can be very persuasive and take over a large group of people and pretty much convince them to do whatever they want. Usually it's in the name of a religious cause. Now, there are some very very strong-minded people out there that can tell you things and convince you of things. No doubt. Charles Manson, Jim Jones, two examples of people that pretty much talked groups of people into doing whatever they want. Jim Jones, a huge example. When you talked thousands of people into mass suicide, you definitely were able to convince people of your word. Now, mind control, I hear that and I think literally you're controlling somebody's mind. You're not just one of those people like Jones or Manson where you're convincing people. When I hear mind control, you're actually controlling their mind one way or another. Is it hypnosis? How is it? I don't know. But the fact that that theory was out there, that he was under mind control and that's why he killed himself, that one seems a little goofy to me. But you never know. The theory was that it was assisted suicide. That somebody actually, and I don't know who this somebody is, actually helped Cobain to kill himself. Another very possible theory. And again, that could be the reality and we just don't know it. You know, sometimes conspiracies are just something that's just a figment of somebody's imagination. And sometimes there's evidence and facts that will steer you in a direction that are viable. They're reliable and they could be correct. But again, you never know. But assisted suicide does seem like another plausible possibility. And the fact that Cobain was said to have been so depressed around the time of his death and the things that were going on, it's very likely that obviously just didn't have it in him to do it to himself. But to ask somebody that you think would actually help you fulfill that, and they did, that's a very likely scenario. But again, we don't know, but it's out there for a reason. And this one seems not so far-fetched to me. But we're going to talk about one more. And this one right here is the juiciest and very likely could be the bullseye that everybody's looking to hit when they're talking about the reality of Cobain's death. You know, the final theory that I want to talk about, which is the one that I think a lot of people want to believe and do believe, was the fact that Kurt was murdered and that Courtney Love was behind the whole thing. Now, I would never dig too deep into this because there's a lot going on there. But just some of the basic facts that are out there. Obviously, when Nirvana was touring overseas and Kurt ended up getting to the hospital, when he got out, they came back over to the States, him and Courtney Love. And obviously, he entered the Exodus Recovery Center in Marina del Rey, California. Now, once he left there, which he snuck out, there was a missing persons report filed by Wendy O'Connor, which is Kurt's mother. At the same time, Tom Grant, a private investigator, was hired by Courtney Love. Now, once Kurt's body was found, Tom Grant is one of the biggest advocates that there's more than meets the eye there, that he believes firmly Kurt was murdered. And even though he was hired by Love, he also came out and said that it wasn't even Mrs. O'Connor that filed that missing persons report. He believes it was Courtney Love did it under her name. Now, Tom Grant is a big advocate, and there's a lot out there if you go look into him, that he believes there's so many fishy things going on there. Not only that, and Eldon Hoke, who was another musician, not really a big name, he came out at one point and said that Courtney Love offered him $50,000 to go and kill Kurt. And eventually this guy was found dead after being run over by a train. Again, when you start talking or you dig too much in conspiracy, is it just coincidence? Or is there a reason you're silenced? Don't know. There's so many books out there and there's so many different articles that will tell you this theory is more than just a theory. It's a very possible reality. And that's the one that I think a lot of fans tend to, steer towards. The theory he was murdered. Again, even Tom Grant, the private investigator, said it, and I said it before in this video. That amount of heroin that was found in Kurt's body, that's 3 times the lethal dose. Even the biggest heroin addict who has the biggest tolerance. You do that much, you're not going to have enough control to pull the trigger on a gun, much less even pick up a gun. So, whichever theory might be the reality, and we just don't know it, some of the facts just steer that the story that we've been told, that he died by a self-inflicted gunshot wound and it was suicide, just doesn't seem as possible when you look at some of the other facts. They just don't go hand in hand. But in the end, a lot of people like to come up with the theory and just sweep it under the rug and say that is the facts. Don't know, but Courtney Love, if she was behind that, that could be one of the biggest, juiciest conspiracies to be uncovered in American rock history if it ever turned out to be factual. As human beings, when we hear conspiracies, if whichever one sounds the best, we're going to usually go that direction if you're one of those people. And I'll be honest, we're all human. Some people there will grab a hold of a conspiracy for dear life and they will not let go if it's a good one. And some of us we choose not to listen to it, but if it's good, we'll tend to listen a little more than we normally would. And that's just human nature. Bottom line is, Kurt Cobain was the voice of a generation. You know, he is one of the greatest musicians ever. Unfortunately, life cut short. There'll never be a debate on Kurt's talent and what Nirvana did as a band. That just, no matter how much time goes by, should always be recognized for what it was. They ushered in a new era. They were the winds of change in rock music for a moment in time, and it was a big moment in time. We should never forget that. But Kurt's death is something that will live on forever as a unanswered question. Do we choose to believe what we're being told by police and people that have investigated, that it was just a suicide? Or do we want to believe one of those conspiracies out there that may not even be a conspiracy, might be a reality? In the end, we may never know. But if we do find out, that'd be great. Maybe that'll put a little more ease to people's mind. But if we're left with what we got, we still got the same thing. The loss of one of the greatest rock musicians of all time. So, until next time, go out there, take care of your friends, your family, do something amazing. Always look at the world for what it is through your eyes. Sometimes we can't believe what we hear. In fact, sometimes we can only believe half of what we see. But we got to trust our eyes more than anything, because it's a crazy world out there, and you never know what's going to happen or what people are capable of. But anyway, till next time, take care of yourself. I'm out.